Michael J, aka Swifty. Glad you could join us. Sit back, sit tight, relax, and get comfortable. Enjoy the ride. Michael J. Hello, good day, folks. Michael J here with you. How you doing? So we're going to start off with, we're always starting off with something. We're going to look at the Tier 10 British. It's a new addition to the Armory. It's the Tier 10 Incomparable. Now, I brought it up last weekend, showcased it a bit, but this time Jingles, also known as, or AKA, the Mighty Jingles, did a small video, a short video on this ship. And as is the usual case with Jingles, there'll be a unique twist to it, of course. And I must remind you that as per his words, Mr. Jingles, the Mighty Jingles, he states, despite an extremely dubious start, HMS Incomparable makes short work of all opposition in today's Tier 10 ranked battle. So he's talking about Tier 10 ranked battle. I will like to mention that I'm not sure if it was a ranked battle or not. And I think I was in Puerto Rico. I did manage to have a bit of a one-on-one with an Incomparable. And I did take him out, but I lost my ship too. Just thought I'd put that out there. Okay. So, starting off with Jingles. Tier 10 British battleship, the Incomparable, can only be purchased for steel. I think it's 32,000 steel. So, questions, comments, throw in chat. Otherwise, remember, Bob's your uncle. And why? Because Bob's everybody's uncle.
Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today
we're having an absolutely a grand morning, monsieur. So I'm just going to top up my espresso because I just like espresso. I like it neat, no sugar, no cream, no nothing, just espresso. But it's a long espresso, so I'm going to top up my espresso. Comments, questions, throw in chat, and remember, Bob is your uncle. Take it away, Jingles.
C4900RR Sniper is going to be taking the brand new, all-singing, all-dancing star of stage, screen and dockyard canteen, HMS Incomparable, into a Tier 10 ranked battle. Incomparable is the latest ship in the game to be armed with stupidly large guns. These are 508mm. But before we talk about the ship, I need to warn you about an incident that is going to occur right at the start of this battle, and if I didn't address it now before it happens and warn you...
Uh-oh. As I said, there's always an interesting twist. No, not always. I'm just adding a little drama to things. I'm pretty much dramaless. Just call it the way I see it. And I'm glad Jingles calls it the way he sees it. So, This is all part of a learning experience. We're not here to pass judgment of any kind whatsoever, folks. So just enjoy it and learn from the experience. That's the important thing. Learn from the experience. Take it away, Jingles.
I would fully expect the majority of you to stop watching this video in disgust, because that is basically exactly what happened when I was recording the video. I ended up recording this battle twice. The first time I watched it, in about a minute or so, I stopped recording. I thought to myself, I am not showcasing this kind of behaviour. However, I then read the rest of Sniper's email and took a look at some of the screenshots that he included and decided to give him a second chance. And you'll understand when you see it. So when it happens, and you're not going to have to wait long, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you see it, because that'll be the point where you're all thinking, what an arsehole, just wait. Before we get there though, a little bit of context. The Incomparable is kind of like a tier 10 version of the Repulse at tier 6, which isn't really a battleship, it's a battle cruiser with seriously big guns. Now, like the Repulse at tier 6, it has an extremely long duration engine boost that, when used in combination with skills like Swifty and Silence, can see this massive ship reach speeds in excess of 40 knots. Which is exactly what's happening here. Now, the Des Moines in front is obviously not looking behind him, does not realise that he's about to get run into, and Sniper at the last second tries to avoid him. But the Incomparable was just too big, it was going too fast, and he left it just a little bit too late to execute the turn. So now, and this has to be intensely frustrating for both of them, but especially for Sniper, that engine boost has effectively been wasted, and now he has to build up the speed again. And you can see Sniper being less than complimentary to the Des Moines in chat there, even though it wasn't really the Des Moines' fault. But this isn't the douchebag moment. Well, it is, but it's only really mild douchebaggery. No, this is the douchebag moment. Now, there's no friendly fire in World of Warships anymore, so we didn't actually do any damage to the Des Moines, but that is still completely unacceptable. And this is the point where, on first viewing this battle, I stopped the recording, exited the replay, deleted the recording thus far, went back to Sniper's email in order to delete that and move on, but then I read the rest of the email. Sniper knows he has a temper problem. He's not trying to excuse it, but when it does get the better of him, he is at least good enough to try to make up for it and apologise afterwards. As you can see here from the attached screenshot after the battle, where he apologised profusely, and the Des Moines very graciously accepted his apology. So if the captain of the Des Moines was okay with it, I thought, well, there's no reason why I shouldn't be, and hopefully you guys will be too. So I jumped back in, flashed up the replay again, hit record, and gave Sniper a second crack at the whip. And if any of you are still watching at this point, you've obviously decided to as well. First shots out at the Smolensk. Only 2 shots make it past the island, with the 2 forward turrets being included. 3 turrets, 2 guns per turret. Yes, it's a 6-gun battleship. Well, it's not really a battleship, but more on that in a moment. Now, as many of you may be aware, I have a bit of a problem with battleships that only have 6 guns. But my problem is mostly just with battleships that only have 6 very inaccurate guns, like the Gneisenau and the Frederick the Great. That is not a problem. Like, that poor Salem. As you can see, that's not a problem that's shared by the Incomparable. These guns actually have cruiser accuracy, exactly the same as the Repulse at tier 6, which is why I love the Repulse. Yes, it only has 6 guns, but those guns are as accurate as a cruiser. It's also why I still think the Leander at tier 6, the British light cruiser, is a very good light cruiser, because it may only have 6 152mm guns, but they tend to hit what you shoot them at. And it's the same on the Repulse, and it's the same here on the Incomparable. She's also one of that elite class of ultra sneaky battleships that come with torpedo launchers, although she isn't really a battleship. I should probably explain what I mean by that. For a start, she's way too fast, and she's way too badly armoured. We're talking tier 10 here. From tier 8 and up, battleships have 32mm bow and stern armour. The kind of bow and stern armour that normally requires an 18.1 inch or higher gun calibre, so Yamato, Musashi or better, in order to overmatch and potentially Citadel from the front. Incomparable lies awake at night fantasizing about having 32mm of bow or stern plating. Incomparable only has 25. Now you see, the Smolensk knows that 16-inch and higher armour-piercing shells will just over-penetrate him when he's given broadside, but when the guns are as big as this, even the overpens are going to do a lot of damage. And if that doesn't get the job done, well, there's always the torpedoes. But back to that 25mm of bow plating. Just to put this into perspective for you, Tier 6 and 7 battleships have 26mm of bow and stern plating, as in fact do Tier 8, 9 and 10 cruisers. In fact, some have 27. This ship's bows aren't even as well armoured as a Tier 8 cruiser. HMS Warspite, which is a Tier 6 battleship, can overmatch the bows of the Incomparable. So you can see that while Incomparable is technically classed as a battleship in-game, it's not really a battleship. What it is just a method of transporting these insanely big guns around the ocean as quickly as humanly possible. Now, he got some good hits on the Christopher Colombo there, forcing him to deploy his smoke. And that's worked out really well for Sniper. I mean, he's denied the opportunity to try to finish him off, but the Italian battleship is no longer spotting him, which is good news because there's a Grosser Kurfürst coming around the other corner. Sniper is not interested in getting shot at by both of them at the same time, so he's backing up here. His torpedoes are ready. They're exactly the same torpedoes that you get on the Daring, by the way. They'll do 16,000 damage and they've got a 10-kilometre range. It's difficult to see exactly what the... Oh, there he is. Oh, look at that broadside. Shots out. Kind of disappointing, actually. I mean, 10,000 damage is 10,000 damage, but at that kind of angle I was expecting more. There's no hiding now, of course. He's inside the Kurfürst's hydro range. So, well, what can I say? Chicks dig scars and glory lasts forever. Let's go for it. Beautiful broadside again on the Grosser Kurfürst, but it's an exceptionally tough ship with turtleback armour protecting its vitals, which makes it virtually immune to citadels at this kind of range. It's not immune to taking big armour-piercing chunk damage, however, which is exactly what happened there. It's turning away now. This is good news, as only the two rear turrets are able to fire, and while these two enemy battleships are perfectly capable of smashing through Sniper's bows, well, he can pretty much do the same to them as well with guns of this caliber. There goes the Grosser Kurfürst. That's considerably reduced the amount of incoming secondary battery fire. The Christopher Colombo, is he still giving... It's not quite broadside, but he doesn't seem to realise that the Incomparable has torpedoes. To be fair, I suspect most people wouldn't know that the Incomparable had torpedoes. It is so incredibly new. Is he going to try to take the turrets out? He tried, didn't work. Oh, and yes, of course, they're ripple fire torpedoes. Just like the ones on the Daring. So if one hits and your aim is good, they are all going to hit. And there goes the Christopher Columbus. There's the high caliber award, although it's only 138,000 damage. This is ranked battle. There are only 7 enemy ships, not 12, for you to farm damage on. So the requirements for getting a high caliber award are correspondingly lower. Right, they haven't lost a single ship. Wow, this has been a ruffle stomp. Although Sniper came perilously close. Oh wait, he ain't done yet. Enemy Napoli over there engaging the Goliath. Looks like the Goliath has managed to avoid the first...
May have been close, but no cigar awarded to the opposing team at this juncture.
But unlike other Tier 10 British battleships, Incomparable has access to aviation facilities. There's the spotter plane. Looks like the Goliath ate at least one of the second wave of torpedoes. Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, the Goliath's taken a pounding. It looks like the team may be just about to sustain its first loss. Goliath's dumped his torpedoes. The Napoli has to be aware that they're coming, of course. And shots out. It looks like the Napoli is slowing and turning. He's going to dodge those torpedoes. Took a big old hit there, though. And he's about to take another one. Yeah, I think the Napoli is definitely going to finish the Goliath off. However, note, Sniper is spotted, and it's not the Napoli, As there's an island in the way, that is an extremely suspicious and angry-looking smoke screen. Deepwater torpedoes, that's the Yu Yang. But because the Incomparable handles like a speedboat, especially when the engine boost is running, yeah, better luck next time, Panyo. He has the hydro running.
My.
He's preemptively switched to high explosive ammunition.
It seems to be a
bit of
blowout.
a nightmare for a battleship captain in these kind of stuff. Ooh, I hope the Yu Yang's got some flex tape.
Seems to be a bit of a blowout.
But yes, this is normally a nightmare situation.
Which is
for a
often the case
captain.
these days in
when you're trying to hit a small, fast-moving target like a destroyer with your main battery guns, especially when you only have 6 main battery guns.
You only got 6,
and your secondaries aren't up to much.
Just
the Incomparables aren't. But the main batteries,
just
well,
6, brother. There
they
we
get
go.
the job done. And that's his 4th kill and the end of the battle.
He finally
so a bit
got
of a shameful
the bugger.
start for Sniper there, but he is aware that he has an issue with his temper, and he did apologise to the captain of the Des Moines after.
Not a bad friggin' game. 158.9, so for all intents and purposes, almost 160K. Not bad at all. Credits aren't too bad. I'll take the credits. Oh, yeah. Would take those credits. Won't you guys take the credits? 4 torpedo hits on the Colombo, so nice. Don't forget, it's only 39 maiden battery hits, 42 secondaries.
Afterwards, which is just as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered watching the rest of this battle, and I'm glad I did, because that was very amusing. Incomparable does seem like a good ship, although horribly badly.
Okay, folks, so we're going to move on to, I've got this all set up to lead into where I'm going with today's show. So the next one, it's going to be Potato Quality. He's a knowledgeable player as well, knows the game. Everybody here's got a different twist on the game, different way of presenting it, but they're all very good at what they do. So now we're going to look at Potato Quality in the Montana. And this, he only just did yesterday, I believe. But what he's stating here is, okay, so this is his arbitrary and subjective viewpoint. And this is probably the ship that he pretty much started off with, which is his claim to fame. It's going to be the Montana. So the byline here is the most consistent battleship in World of Warships. Now, you let me know if your thinking is aligned with his with respect to this ship. If not, let us know as well. So, remember one thing. Bob's your uncle. Post in chat. And stay safe.
Today, we're taking a look at a classic battleship. The Montana, of course, has been in the game since the very start, and initially, the Yamato was thought to be much better. However, there were quite a few nerfs that Yamato had, and Montana really hasn't had too many. In fact, it's been buffed. You can see in the bottom left there that my heal is actually 23,000 HP. It's going to heal back, and we have 5 of those. Combined with Montana's waterline citadel and generally really nice armor, it's really difficult to kill this thing. It's a very, very tanky battleship, and of course you get 12 406mm guns. So 20k onto that Kearsarge out there, that's definitely a pretty common salvo. And of course Kearsarge makes a big target with its kind of tumor of a superstructure and flight deck, but the consistency of the Montana is really why it's still a ship that's worth playing these days. No, you don't have...
Okay, so just so you guys know where we're going with today's show is we're going to be rating all the Tier 10 battleships. So this is the direction we're going in. So this is why I want you to see these two different types of ships. So take it away, Mr. Potato. Mr. Potato, take it away.
Have the overmatch, and you probably don't have all the gimmicks of a lot of these new ships with speed or concealment, secondaries, that kind of thing. It really just comes down to how consistent these main guns are against broadside targets and some of the lighter cruisers that you actually can overmatch. This is one of the most accurate battleships with 12 or more guns, and that is a really, really strong thing to have, even against angled targets like this Kurfürst coming up. You're going to see that we can even shoot into superstructures and get a ton of damage. Of course, lower tier cruisers, they're going to take huge damage as well, since they don't have the 30 millimeters of armor required to auto bounce these 406 millimeter guns. Now, if you look at my position, we're in a bit of a tough spot, since we're pushing in and our team really isn't behind us. They're kind of hiding behind this island to our left. But I'm really not that worried, because Montana is incredibly tough to kill. Since it has this improved heal, look at how much healing we have. It's not quite a Conqueror level of a meme heal where you heal back half your HP, but you get far more of them. And they're really, really useful, considering the armor of Montana is much higher. I think Montana is definitely a battleship that you should get if you're looking for consistency at tier 10, or you're looking to get a decent all-around battleship for almost any situation. You're not looking to specialize, or you're just wanting to learn the battleship playstyle. I've long said North Carolina is one of the best battleships to learn how to play battleships on, and at the same time, Iowa is still pretty decent, even though you do lose out on some of the nice maneuverability of the North Carolina. And Montana at tier 10 is just really good in almost every situation. And I think that's the best thing I can say about it, given that you never know what you're going to get yourself into. It is random battles, after all. And having a ship that's just consistently good is really important these days. Now, Kurfürst bow in, you would think, well, that's going to be tough to kill. But with this amazing dispersion and aiming into the superstructure, we get nearly 21,000 damage. Now, of course, you're not going to get that all the time, but it does show that aiming into superstructures on ships you can't overmatch is a great way to also deal damage. The other thing you can do is swap to the HE. You don't quite have the alpha and the fire chance that something like a Conqueror does. We have much better dispersion, and that improved dispersion allows you to do comparable levels of HE damage. It's not the same, it's not quite as good, but when somebody's angled, like you run into an angled Yamato, for example, that's just trying to bow tank you, you just swap to the HE and everything's gonna be good. Now, of course, it is the broadsides you're looking for on this ship. And given we're taking the accuracy mods, trying to get the best accuracy we possibly can, you need to pick and choose the shots you're going to take. You only have a 30-second reload. Given you're not taking reload mod, you're taking the improved American dispersion mod. And that's why you're taking the improved American dispersion mod. That was just a pocket full of shells.
Oh my.
Destined to dev strike that man. I don't think there was any way he was getting out of that one. Overpens certainly are annoying, and of course so are some aiming bugs like shells landing short. I'm sure we've all experienced that. Montana does suffer from these as well, but this ship, when you do get those broadsides and you don't get those bugs, you're going to be doing some very, very consistent damage as we get our second kill here. Now, I ain't gonna lie, we do get gifted a little bit of damage at the end of this game, but I still wanted to show you this, partially for those dev strikes and the overall tankiness at the beginning, but for this here, that I think the main reason I would love to see aircraft carriers have less armor on their flight deck is for situations like this, where you catch an aircraft carrier out, I think you should be able to punish them, but a tier 10 CV, angles like that, you're just gonna bounce. We did 30k. The equivalent tier 10 would have taken maybe 5k if we got lucky with one of our shells missing the armored flight deck. And I think carriers are incredibly strong in this game. I don't think anybody would deny that. And I don't want to get into the whole discussion of how good or bad they are for the game, but given the absolute strengths of a carrier and how they're able to impact the game, I think that when you do catch one out of position, you should be able to punish it like this. And that's what I'd love to see on the tier 10 carriers. Nakamov, of course, is a decent example of this when they're broadside, having a massive citadel. But I think just being able to overmatch like this would be a huge, huge bonus to surface ships. The CVs would still be just as strong, in my opinion, based on decent positioning. However, when you do catch them out, you'd actually be able to kill them in a reasonable amount of time. But I doubt that's ever going to change. That's just some wishful dreaming that I have. But as far as the Montana is concerned, I really like this ship. There's a reason we ran it in Kings of the Sea all the time. It's just so consistent. And if you get a couple of them crossfiring the same target across the map, well, there's not a lot that can hold up to Montana crossfires, that's for sure. Here we end up top of the team and have a decent result. Of course, there are better games out there, but I really just had a lot of fun and wanted to talk about the consistency of Montana. As I'm sure many of you know at this point, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I find inconsistency to be very frustrating. And that's why Montana is so great when compared to other battleships. You get some consistency out of it, ignoring the bugs and potential issues with the game itself. Having this 11% dispersion module is so nice on 12 guns specifically. Yes, Ohio and Georgia have some pretty incredible dispersion on their own, but less shells means it doesn't feel quite as consistent, even though you get better reloads and higher alpha damage out of them. I just love the 12-gun battleship layout of the Montana. You can see we're using concealment as well as damage control system mod 2. I'm messing around with secondaries since there is no aiming systems on the Montana and any of the high-tier American battleships. So you could run artillery plotting room. That's something that we definitely ran in Kings of the Sea to get those cross shots way across the map. You get 32.9 kilometers of range when you have the spotter aircraft up. And trust me, it's good at those long ranges, assuming the target isn't moving too much, like hiding behind an island, for example. That's a pretty common one in competitive with radar cruisers. Damage control system. I am messing around with damage control party mod 1 since you do get yourself a 30-second damage con where you're completely immune from fires. It's pretty fun. Onto the commander build. This is what I've got right now. I don't think this is worth it. I've been just trying to mess around, see what secondaries are like on this thing when you just don't upgrade them outside of the range. 11 kilometers range, and you're going to get the odd hit here and there with a 9% fire chance. Maybe you get some extra fires. But on that last game, we really didn't get too many secondary hits, so it's probably not worth it compared to basics of survivability, for example. Otherwise, it's the standard battleship commander for a standard battleship. That's what Montana is. It's pretty vanilla, but it's just so consistent. And you don't rely on those gimmicks. You just rely on having a good ship. Anyways, let me know what you think of Montana in the comments below. And
Let me know what you think. I'll let you know what I think, you potato. Okay. Is he a baked potato? Did I say that? Oh my. Yes, I did. Well, what can I say? What can I say? So, we're going on towards the main theme of the show here. The main theme, the whole point of being here, our existence, not really, but just add to it. And tier 10 battleships. So this is supposed to be all tier 10 battleships ranked. And let's see what the list ends up being. So we're going to take it away there, Flamuski. The Mr. Flamuski.
Let's start with the standard disclaimer. This is my opinion and my take, what I think. You are absolutely free to disagree, as always. You don't have to agree with me, that's fine. I have biases, I am well aware of this. So,
Are we going to agree with you, Flamu? You know what, buddy? As I've showcased Jingles, Potato Quality, and Flamu, I respect everybody's opinion because everybody has a different understanding and a different expression, and this is how we learn, folks. So don't forget it. Embrace the differences. Don't get hung up on your own beliefs that you've created. Just keep an open mind, learn, and take what you learn and apply it to your play style because one thing is very apparent here, everybody plays differently. So that's the most important thing. So enjoy. Let me know what you think in chat. If it's after the fact, post it in the comments section. Thanks.
just so you know. Okay, let's start off with what do we have coming first? Yamato. Yamato goes straight into A tier. Yamato is it's a battleship that has been around since basically release. It's gotten nerfed once. Mainly the heel on the Yamato has gotten nerfed. It used to be super strong.
But one thing that a lot of people fail to mention, Yamato got its ultimate upgrade is a good upgrade. Really is a good one on this ship.
This entire list is wrong. Thank you, Citizen. It's gotten nerfed once. It used to have a much stronger heal than it has now, and it was considered horrendously overpowered back in the day because the only competition it had was the Montana, and the Yamato had overmatch and a super strong heal and all these things. So it was just an absolute monster. Yamato's special gimmick is, of course, well, the 460mm guns, which used to be a unique feature, not so much anymore. But what makes 460mm guns unique is that, well, if you calculate the match of it, you take 460, you divide it by 14.3, you end up with 32.16, yada yada yada. The key threshold here is, of course, 32mm, which means you overmatch battleship armor. Overmatch means that your AP shell ignores all angling and it just punches straight through the armor, basically pretending it's not there. The armor value affects the pen, so if you wouldn't have enough pen, it would struggle. But besides that, it basically just ignores the armor. And considering 32mm armor is basically the standard armor on almost all battleships, with some certain perhaps exceptions on the way where you get some icebreakers and things. But even Soviet ships have overmatchable noses and sterns. Yamato has the guns are nutty. They have great penetration. They have great accuracy. There's a legendary mode that I sadly don't have, main battery director, which gives you even better dispersion. It's highly recommended. It used to be even better, I think. It was nerfed a bit, but it's still very, very good because on IGN battleships you can stack 2 dispersion modes at once, which makes these guns hyper accurate. If you don't have it though, you can just run reload mode. And I mean, I got plenty of highlights of the Yamato on my channel for good reason. This thing smashes. This thing absolutely smashes. The weaknesses of the ship is, well, the concealment is not very impressive. You get it lower, 14.4 with concealment captain. But the speed is one of the slowest of all tier 10 BBs. Vermont kind of changed that, but it used to be the slowest. And the turret traverse is horrendously slow. Horrendously slow turret traverse. The secondaries are basically a meme. Don't expect too much from them. They can do some damage to DDs YOLOing you, but DDs generally can sail circles around your turrets most of the time. And the final big weakness is that the citadel is huge, not just high above the water, which makes it very vulnerable, and also it's quite flat. The broadside is quite flat. It also has bow and stern weaknesses, which means we call it the cheek citadel, which means you can basically shoot here. You basically, when the ship angles in, there's a natural curve where the broadside curves into the nose, and this curve gives you a flatter broadside to shoot. So you have an easier time penetrating through this angle, and then after that the citadel is shaped in such a way that you can penetrate through it as well. So you get two flat-ish areas you can punch through, and that's why you can get no citadels and booty citadels. Even cruisers can punch through this. So, well, not all of them, but close range, basically all of them as well. So vulnerability is big citadel vulnerabilities. It's slow. The AA is junk, but it makes up for it by having high health, pretty decent armor, provided you're nose in, not much superstructure to farm, and just massive big dick guns. Big dick guns. That is what makes the ship stand out. I mean, I can show you the penetration values. Let's go all battleship, all 10, boom. AP 15 kilometers, and well, Overmatch you see here, of course, Yamato 32 millimeters, but more importantly, the penetration. We have some ships up here, but you can see that Yamato sits at 598 at 15 kilometers, which is very, very impressive. And if you go up to 20 kilometers, Yamato is still up here with 538. They're very, very close at this, which means you can still citadel battleships across the map. There are, of course, special ships that have special mechanics, so to say. Shikishima probably goes right up there next to the Yamato. I would say it's A tier. Shikishima is kind of a side grade from the Yamato. You get, I think you got the faster reloading heal on the Shikishima. You get slightly better rudder shift. I'm not sure actually if the heal was different. It might have been the same heal even. It's been a while since I played the Shikishima, but you get better AA significantly. You get Harugumo secondaries, 100mm secondaries, which means they kind of actually shred anything that tries to get closer, and you get slightly better rudder shift. In return, though, you have only 6 510mm guns, which can be something of a questionable trade-off. I mean, I think we can show it actually in the armor, the Shikishima. Shikishima, I wouldn't say it's either an upgrade or a downgrade. It's very much a side grade. What was it? Was it steel? I think Shikishima was steel, yeah. Yeah, here it is. Shikishima, show import. Here it is. The hull has the same strengths and weaknesses, same vulnerable citadel, same issues, so speed, same issue, of course. But the difference is the AA values are much, much better, 10 flak, and much more continuous DPS, and the secondaries themselves are those 100mm Harugumo guns, so you're basically shredding on both sides. However, don't think that means the ship can brawl, because pushing in with this hull means being citadel very easily. The turret traverse is also glacial at 60 seconds, so not really something you want to brawl in. Now, this thing seems a fair bit of popularity in something like comp, and it's also in ranked, it's somewhat popular, whereas Yamato has a pretty long reload. Even though this thing only has 6 guns, it has a slightly faster reload, and if you build it for full reload and you put the reload module on it, you can pump out shells very, very quickly with the thing, and the alpha on these guns is, of course, nasty. I still think the Yamato guns are better, more consistent, but Shikishima kind of makes up for that by just, well, pumping out volleys much, much faster, throwing them volleys out significantly quicker than this thing can. This is with reload, about 26.4 by the way. So Shikishima is a Yamato side grade. I rarely recommend it for anyone who has the Yamato, because, I mean, it's a Yamato with small changes. It's still very much a strong ship. Could you move it to the corner? Sure, we can move this entire thing down here, and this entire thing down here. Better? Better. Sure, we can move this entire thing down here. Less in the way. And special Shikishima bonus is it has big dick gun sounds. Some of the BTS gun sounds in the game. After that, we have Kremlin. Now, I should specify that this is both solo. This list is tier list for solo ranked and solo random. If it was only one or the other, the ranking would be different. But considering I'm trying to balance both the effectiveness in solo ranked and solo random, it kind of changes some things. Kremlin, for ranked, could easily be an A ship. It's quite good in ranked because, well, there's less ships to fight. It's more close range brawling. There's less ships that can focus fire you at once. Kremlin could be an absolute A ship in that situation. However, these days in random battles, Kremlin isn't really that consistent. It's tough to push in. It's tough to get into situations where you can effectively use it. It's hard to kill. It has Overmatch. Straight S. No, I don't think Kremlin is S. What makes you think Kremlin is S right now? I'm surprised what makes you think Kremlin is S. Because I've looked at the Kremlin gameplay and looked at it's hard to kill, but ultimately I don't value it as highly as I do something like the Yamato and Shikishima these days. As for Soviet, no. I think if it was ranked, I would put it up here in A. If it was ranked, I would put it up here in A. But the changes to the guns and all that the Kremlin has gone through, and also the AA being absolutely brutalized, I would put it as a strong B, but I wouldn't put it up here with the Yamato and Shikishima. The guns are wacky, and if a CV decides you die, well, you just die. You also have the issue with the Kremlin that in order to make the Kremlin shine, you have to push in and play aggressive. And in the current meta, playing aggressive is incredibly difficult, especially if you don't have god tier concealment. Kremlin, of course, comes with some fantastic features like a pretty damn small superstructure, especially when nose in. Really strong armor, 60 and 150. 60 just happens to be enough to bounce, to not shatter Sap and shatter Goliath HE, shatter Hindenburg HE. It is stupidly tanky, stupidly hard to kill. It also has this angled citadel belt, which means that when shells come in, it basically shatters it because the effective armor is much thicker than it appears. So this all gives the Kremlin incredible durability. You can sit flat broadside and just survive volleys that would easily dev strike other battleships. The problem is, once again, that the gun range is 20.7, and you actually get no tools to increase it in any way. I mean, you could go range mod, but the Kremlin, well, the Soviet battleships have a unique dispersion formula. That means that they are highly accurate at closer ranges, rather inaccurate at longer ranges. This can be somewhat meme-worthy though, because the horizontal dispersion, the vertical dispersion, doesn't seem that bad. Oh wait, you can't even slot it? Oh, you can't even slot it. You can slot the leg mod, which gives you just faster reload, but that's terrible. Oh, you can't even slot it. Never mind, you're stuck at 20.7. Even worse. I forgot, because you would probably never even want to slot it. But you can't slot spotter plane. You got a standard heal, you got a fast reloading damage con, which is fantastic. This ship combined with Kuznetsov is brutally hard to kill, but in terms of gun effectiveness, it struggles these days. Too much. No first TT ships, then premiums? No, I'm going through all of them. There's not enough ships for that to justify it. I'm just going through all of them. It's easier that way. What's wrong with the guns? The dispersion formula. Really, the dispersion. Let's see if we can maybe showcase it some here. Let's see, ship tools. Give me maybe main battery. Horizontal dispersion. Yeah, here we go. 20 km range. The worst dispersion by far, combined with a 33-second reload. This reload also means that your damage output, well, it puts you, where does it put you? Down here. This is your damage output. So you barely deal more damage with your guns than the Schlieffen, but then Schlieffen basically has Haragumos on both sides, out damaging everyone. So you sit down here with your guns, which means the damage output is You do have Overmatch, which is fantastic, but the long reload and the poorest dispersion means that the only times this ship can actually really shine is in close range situations. And obviously, if you're playing solo, getting these situations is much harder said than done. The ship is also much tankier in nose in than it is stern in. The problem is, going stern in a battleship in the current meta is a good way to get yourself killed. Ships that have to go nose in and just push somewhere, they can easily get farmed to shit. It's a rough experience. It's a rough experience at range. I mean, it tops both the charts significantly here and significantly here. But then again, if you change it to 10 kilometers, well, suddenly Kremlin is down here. And the vertical dispersion, well, it's down here, next to Slava. So the difference of fighting at 10 kilometers and 20 is night and day for the Kremlin. The issue itself, the reason why I put it into B instead of A right now, is not so much the strengths and weaknesses of the ship, but more the fact that in the current meta, playing aggressive is really rough. That's just the way it is. Playing aggressive is really, really rough. That's just the way it is. Anyway, that's why I put Kremlin as a strong B. If this was ranked, Kremlin would be A. If this was ranked only, Kremlin would be A, because ranked is fought at much closer ranges and there's much less threats, which means a Kremlin ranked that isn't a potato is basically impossible to take down. The thing just doesn't die. After that we have the Slava. Slava, on the other hand, is the other way around. If this was random battles, you rank the Yamato is kind of like C tier, yeah, but then in any sort of else it goes up here. I don't think it's actually C tier because so many people just get smashed. So many people just get smashed by it. Anyway, Slava, random battles, this thing is a strong guy. It just dumpsters randoms. On the other hand, if you bring this thing to ranked, you're basically griefing. You're basically griefing if you bring it to ranked because there's usually a handful of ships and most of them, if they show any sort of functionality, they're gonna go nose in. So ranked Slava is basically griefing your team. It's like maybe a C, whereas in randoms it's basically an A. So Slava goes pretty solidly into the B for me. Because, no, you can't justify it. You're griefing in ranked if you bring it. On the other hand, in randoms, you can smash easily and just consistently carry games, but it is what it is. People say, oh, you can just angle against the Slava, but I mean, I've smashed even like really, really good players trying to angle against it. Like, you might know you probably know Gang, who streams. He's like Super Unicum or something. I mean, we have this clip of him. He was what, 17 kilometers away in a Des Moines? That's 17 km away. I mean, you'd think that's easy, you just angle, but Slava's guns in randoms, they do things that people don't expect. You don't expect to get that shit on you from 17 kilometers when you can angle against the AP. You don't expect it to happen. But Slava can pull off bullshit. That's really what makes the Slava stand out. The penetration, of course, is, besides the dispersion, the penetration is another factor. The thing can citadel anything at basically any range whatsoever. It has absurd penetration. I mean, even Shikishima with 510mm guns, I mean, don't ask me how the physics here make any sense. The shell that weighs 2.7 tons, 3 times the Slava shells, has 60mm less penetration. Don't ask me how that works. It makes no sense whatsoever. But it's like magical shells, and they do a lot of bullshit. And another really important factor on the Slava is the impact angle. This thing here. Basically, the shells come in at an extremely flat angle. And this is why Slava, for example, citadels Kremlin. Because, remember we spoke about this angled armor here? Most shells come in like this. Slava shells come in like this. So the angle effective armor is less. So Slava has an easier time citadeling the Kremlin as well. But for ranked, it's still straight up griefing. So I place it into B. Slava shells are extra pointing. That gives them extra pen. Montana. Shit, that's a hard one. Montana is also... shit. Montana is one of those ships that I think actually do better in ranked as well than they do in randoms. Because you can somewhat like, you can deal fairly well with most targets, and if you get to disengage, the thing has insane healing potential since they buffed it, but on the other hand, in randoms, it feels like such a non-threat. The shells are so slow. On the other hand, the thing pumps out a lot of damage. People don't really understand how much damage a Montana pumps out. It has been the highest damage output in the game for some time. The problem is, of course, the shells are quite slow. The flight time is quite slow. The penetration, well, you're not going to win any prizes. It's bottom 4 in terms of pen. So you're not going to citadel battleships at range in any way. You're going to do some good damage, but you're not going to citadel them. Really, the big thing with the Montana is if you get to disengage and heal up, you have a bit of a special heal. It heals much more than the normal heal. The normal heals 0.5%. This thing heals 0.66%. So that means it heals 762 per tick with the flag. When you compare that to something like, well, Yamato's heal, that heals 583 per tick, you realize just how much more healing you get out of these Montana heals. The thing is though, yes, as someone said, DPM is somewhat upset by everyone taking reload and Monty slotting this module here. 11% main battery shell dispersion. Now you think this comes at, you basically get better dispersion for free, but it doesn't really work like that because American battleships can't slot the dispersion module. This thing here, you kind of get a free 7% dispersion on IGN ships and basically most battleships in the game. But the Montana and the Americans can't slot it. There's no option to slot it. So what people usually take is, if they're playing Ohio's Georgias, they take secondary. Montana, I take turret reverse. Sometimes people take range mod if it's something like Florida. You get, I'd say, 4% better dispersion since you can't take this, but you can get this. But then on the other hand, you lose the reload mod. You lose the reload mod. I don't particularly like Montana. I think it struggles with the slow shell velocity, the lack of overmatch, the lack of penetration. It has pretty good firing angles though. It's got pretty good AA. The problem is it has a massive superstructure as well. These Montanas are really easy to farm. It's thick, it's big. Torpedo belt is questionable. 37% is okay, but the thing is just so huge. It's a bit of a tough one. Bugged Citadel, that's such a small thing though. The bugged Citadel is like, it sticks out a bit on the sides here. Very, very minimal. It sticks out the Citadel. That's why sometimes you get a weird Citadel when you're shooting a nose in Montana with like low caliber shells. The legendary Montana is I'm not sure how big of a fan I am of this. Ultimately, what this really gives you is 30% rudder shift and 10%. The steering gear's repair time is entirely irrelevant. This 70% steering gear's repair time is entirely irrelevant. Like, the only time you lose it is if you hit a torpedo. Fire extinguishing time 10%, 10% flooding recovery 10%. These values are so small. If you build full tank build, you get fire duration down to something like 12% of your max health. Getting it down another 10%, okay, you're eating 11% fires instead of 12% fires. The difference is minimal. In return, you give up concealment, which really, really sucks because you don't have too good of a concealment to begin with. So I think the legendary mod is pretty junk on it. It's tanky provided you get, the team doesn't like chase you or focus you down. Where would I place the Montana then? I guess only for its performance in ranked. The fact that it's pretty solid for ranked, even though I think it's pretty shit for randoms. It's kind of like a weak B maybe? A weak B maybe. Battleships are generally pretty damn strong. That's just the way it is. Battleships are just generally pretty damn strong. They have such big map effectiveness. The Montana has the range and it can arc the shells as well, which makes it quite effective at lobbing over islands. I think I'll put it as a weak B. If it was only random battles, it would maybe be a strong C instead. There are no really weak BBs. Yeah, I don't think honestly there's any BBs that are particularly weak. There's some that I like less than others. Vermont. It's a liability in ranked, and in solo randoms you rely basically entirely on your team. It's strong C, I think, straight away. To be fair, it's actually kind of impressive that it makes a strong C, because it gets here on its guns alone. Everything about Vermont Hull is shit. Everything about Vermont Hull is shit. It gives them, first of all, it's gigantic. It's massive. The superstructure is massive. Every part of it is massive. The armor layout is terrible. It's got just enough armor on the broadside to basically arm every single AP shell. You ever shoot a broadside Vermont, you never get an overpen. You only get full pens. You farm this thing. every part of it is there to arm your shells. It's also got these weird fucking blocks to make sure it catches every shell coming its way, like these weird dips and nooks and crannies. The broadside armor is trash, like absolute trash. This is the Citadel. It's, first of all, it's significantly above the water, but more importantly, it's only, what is it, 406 and 318. The problem here is that it's flat. Unlike something like Kremlin's nice angled armor, this is flat. In fact, it almost slopes a bit outwards to make sure shells hit it. This thing is hilariously easy to Citadel. Cruisers do it at close range easily. Battleships do it across the map. The health pool is misleading because this thing is so easy to farm. It has no maneuverability. It does 24.2 knots. The rudder shift is a tragedy. It doesn't turn well. It doesn't move well. It kind of just sits there. The AA, I mean, the AA values are pretty okay, but it's so easy to hit. And good lord, if you run into a Nakimov, his nose in torpedoes, all 6 of them hit you because you're so wide. It's just a tragedy. It's just a tragedy to try to dodge anything in this thing. And some torps from like ships like Holland and such, even if they're spotted, you struggle to dodge them because you're so slow. And once again, they arm multiple ones on you. Vermont health pool is misleading. The thing is clumsy. It's got poor concealment. But obviously the one saving grace of all of this is the guns. The fact that it makes it's a strong C or a C is just because of the guns. The guns do filthy things. The guns do hella filthy things. You probably got the dev strikes on more ships that I can count with this thing, like ships you don't normally expect to see dev strikes on, like Izumos, Republics, Petros. Vermont has gotten those dev strikes because it throws out 12 very accurate 457mm guns that overmatch many of the things that it hits, and the AP penetration is actually very good, even across the map. As you can see, Vermont sits right here. Better penetration at 20 kilometers than something like Yamato, Thunder, or Ohio. The guns are filthy. Like, these are all big dick pen. Vermont has better pen, and it throws 12 of them across the map. Add the fact that, let's see, horizontal dispersion. Here we can see Vermont. It sits right here with the likes of, I'd say, Ohio. But of course, you gotta remember, Ohio throws out 8 shells. This thing throws out 12. Sigma is 1.95, which is also very solid. The shells are slow, but yeah, the broadside hurts. The broadside hurts, and even with this long-ass reload, it still gets surprisingly good DPM. Like, it has better DPM than a Thunder, despite the hilarious 40-second reload, and that's just because it throws so much junk downrange. It throws so much junk downrange. It has no better heal though, no damage con, no improved heal. You notice it actually has a worse heal than a Montana, 616. Despite having more health, it still has a worse heal than Montana. It does get defensive AA, but once again, if a carrier that wants to kill this thing, it kills this thing. Vermont, C tier, yes. On a better hull, this ship would probably be overpowered, but the hull is just such a vulnerability. Your team, if your flank collapses, you die as well. You can't outrun them. You just sit there and get caught up. But you can do just really filthy things. I think even the Flammel Clips guy recently, the Flammel Clips guy just posted I think an Izuma clip that really sums up what these guns can do. Here you go. Izumo, 13.5 cam away. Izuma of course has a small turtle back. Not really the easiest ship to Citadel, but Vermont does really filthy things. Vermont does really filthy things. Things you might not normally expect from a battleship, and that's what makes Vermont stand here. But yeah, it's slow and painful. Slow and painful. Would a Monty with those turrets be OP? Oh yes. Oh god, it would be. Speaking of a Monty with those turrets, Ohio. Shit, do I put Ohio straight into S or just strong A? Ohio is really strong. Ohio takes a lot of the weaknesses of Montana, and offsets them. I think it's just S tier, honestly. It just has so many things going for it. It's so self-sufficient as well, unlike many others. I don't think it really has, honestly, any real weaknesses. What is the Ohio really bad at? Nothing. I don't think it is. Ohio goes probably into S right here. Ohio is, I would say, for randoms, maybe A, kind of weak A, but then for ranked, it's just super powerful. Super powerful. Ohio is bad at being bad. Ohio. Okay, let's see. We have to slot it here. We're on the Russian account, so I have to show it from here. Ohio has a lot of things going for it. Shit, was it Research Bureau? Man, all the fun chips are in Research Bureau. Well, let's see. First of all, does it show here the faster heal? Yeah. Basically, first of all, the heal, instead of the standard 80-second heal that you have on the Montana, Ohio has a 40-second heal. So this means that the weakness of the Montana, which is that you need to stay alive for a long time to utilize your healing, Ohio doesn't have that. The heal heals for less, but it's 40 seconds. With build, of course, you can get it significantly below 40 seconds. So this thing heals incredibly quickly. The second thing that it really fixes is the guns. Montana's guns, we talked about them, they don't have too much pin and they can't match. Well, Ohio has 8 457mm guns, and they also fixes the turret reverse because they got magical 30-second turret reverse on them, which means they turn extremely quickly. This means that the Ohio pumps out some really, really good pin on these guns. Let's see, here we have Ohio right next to the Thunder at 20 kilometers. Can Citadel anything. If you compare it to the Montana, the difference is quite obvious, especially at closer ranges like 15 km, 582 versus Montana's 538. The pin is nasty. The shell velocity is slow, sure, but even then, the flight time, not the end of the world. The difference is very, very similar to Montana here. And if you go up to 20 kilometers, once again, the gap stays very, very small. They have little parachutes on them, yes, but these shells are slow in the sense that you can art them over islands, but they don't suffer from poor penetration like Montana shells do. And of course, you overmatch things with this. The other big difference is secondaries. Ohio secondaries, while they don't really have the pen that you might expect from something like Schlieffen secondaries, Ohio secondaries actually do not just secondary DPM, but hitting DPM. You have improved dispersion on them, which you don't have on the Montana. So even if the DPM looks similar, 270 versus 308, Montana versus Ohio, Ohio has that incredible dispersion that basically doubles the effective DPM of your secondaries. This makes it shred DDs at close range. And we talked about the fact that you can't slot the dispersion module. So on the Ohio, people generally slot the secondary module to increase the range and dispersion even further. The other thing is, let's see, general, we can show the rudder shift. Can you see rudder shift here? Oh, here it is. Obviously, the rudder shift on Montana is an absolute tragedy at 22.2 seconds. But for some reason, Ohio, despite having the exact same hull, shaves almost 4 seconds off that rudder shift. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. No one really knows why it is that way, but it just does. It just has 4 seconds better rudder shift. Torque belt is identical between Ohio and Montana. But all of this, especially the different, we talked about the hull being quite good. Ohio takes basically all the Montana weaknesses and makes up for them. Secondary, huge buff. Heal, reloads faster. Guns, suddenly pen everything and overmatch. And you have faster traverse on the guns as well. So all the weaknesses, it's like Super Montana. It really is just like Super Montana in that sense. The main difference is, of course, you lose AP DPM because Montana is #1. But even then, the dip isn't exactly huge, from 325 to 274, and you make up for it by being able to overmatch, more effectively smash targets. Can we see AA here? Oh, here we go. Let's see a long range DPS. Yeah, Montana is pretty. They sit here, but Ohio gets longer medium range. Interesting. That's a nice advantage. Flak is identical. Pretty similar in terms of AA. Pretty similar in terms of Ohio, but Ohio just, if you want to win games, Ohio is just really good at it. Like, I don't really know what ships does particularly well against Ohio. I don't really know what ship would do particularly well. Because the guns, secondaries are scary, the hull is pretty scary. It's, I mean, obviously CV is dumpster it and so forth. And the rudder shift is poor, so DDs can, but those things affect all battleships. Große Kurfürst. Is that a D, honestly? I said there wouldn't be any D battleships. I guess for ranked, Große Kurfürst is okay. For randoms, it's such a goddamn vulnerability. It's such a... Maybe, I don't know if there's such a thing as a bad battleship. Große Kurfürst has some major weaknesses. It suffers from the same weakness of the Montana, which is... they're stuck with these 406mm guns, which at tier 10 it can't be called anything else except a weakness. More importantly, the Große Kurfürst has some of the worst firing angles. I mean, we can look at Montana firing angles here. You can see the firing angles on the Montana here for each turret. Try to keep this in mind. And then we look at Kurfürst firing angles, and they're just brutal. The big issue here is, of course, GK also massive in size. It's a gigantic ship, and you have to give full broadside to use these back turrets. And this just makes for such a brutal experience. Here it is, 46, 35. 46, 46, 35. Montana is what? 33, 35. Like, Jesus. Yeah, the firing angles are terrible, which means it has to give full broadside against anything it fights. And it's huge. It has turtle bank, which means you won't get citadel, but it also means, because of all the armor, every shell that hits you is a pen. So you end up getting like 30k just pure pen damage on this thing. It is nose in, it is quite tanky. The superstructure kind of makes it struggle with the tankiness, but it has a lot of armor going for it, and it is quite tanky. And that's why in small scale and ranked, a GK pushing in can be pretty hard to deal with. However, if you get any sort of crossfire on this thing, it just explodes. Concealment is poor, maneuverability, the turning circle is an absolute tragedy. Like, this is 1050 meters. The less said about that, the better. It just arms most of the shells that comes its way. The torpedo belt is terrible, 12% worse than what we had on the Ohio. And then we have the guns, with an very lack. We spoke about Kremlin range being poor at 20.7. GK sits at 20.6. It can get the spotter aircraft, but you can't expect to really hit much with these guns. In fact, if you look at the AP penetration on the GK, we have to order it like this. It sits right here. Sits right here with the Montana. I don't think it loses that much velocity at range, but it is really the greatest weakness on it. It is really the greatest weakness of this thing. AP DPM is probably actually pretty high. It's German AP. Yeah, it sits up here. Actually worse than all of these, surprising. But HE is tragedy. As much as you really use it. It does have the improved secondaries though. Not as good as Schlieffen. Basically, GK came out before the likes of Massachusetts, Ohio, Georgia. And what Wargaming did was they told everyone these are the secondary battleships. And then they released the Massachusetts and they tried something new. They gave the secondaries an improved formula, which was basically twice as accurate as what this thing has. So what this ended up doing was they power crept the entire German secondary line with these new secondaries. And then they released the new battle cruisers, and well, they also got the improved dispersion. And GK is stuck with that old shitty dispersion. Despite having a pretty nice 32mm pen and 38mm pen, which sounds promising, like wow, that's really good pen on the secondaries. If you sort it by impact hitting damage, you'll note that the GK sits down here, below the Slava in terms of literally accuracy on these secondaries. The effective DPM is of course higher, but these ships with the improved accuracy, well, they're up here. And Shikishima, I think, also has the improved dispersion. So they're all up here. It was buffed recently slightly for all tier 7 plus BBs. Yeah, but it's still quite tragic. Which is a shame. Which is a shame. The 20% isn't really enough to make up for it. The big weakness of the ship, however, isn't as much the secondaries, the consumables. The big weakness is the horrendous firing angles and the complete lack of overmatch on a ship that is supposed to brawl, push in and brawl. Because if you can't overmatch, well, you got stuff like Des Moines just sitting nosing and smashing you, and all sorts of issues to deal with, and you eat so much damage, and you're so clumsy. So GK, I said Kremlin suffers in this meta. GK suffers even more. It doesn't have the concealment, the AA, any really of the tools to push in to do its thing, which is brawl. So I don't know if I want to put that battleship into D, because it's still a battleship. It can still dev strike things. It can still just go in and do things. So maybe I'll put it as a weak C. The guns are pretty weak. Oh yeah, I should probably highlight that. The guns have actually really flat armor on them. These things here are actually really flat. So if you run into something like a Stalingrad or Petro, he's actually going to break your guns, which is oof. If it wasn't for ranked and small scale utility, like it would actually be closer to B. If 1 versus 1 came back, GK would be great. If it wasn't for Schlieffen, I guess these days. But it's a battleship compared to other battleships, ergo D tier. It really is honestly the least threatening battleship I can imagine. It really is the least threatening battleship. Like the scariest thing about a GK, if I'm playing a battleship, is that he's gonna ram me. I think honestly, it's kind of D tier. But like the guns aren't gonna scare me. The guns aren't gonna scare me. Him ramming me is gonna scare me. Then we have the Schlieffen. Shit. Well, Schlieffen in ranked is basically S. It's honestly just straight up S tier in ranked. The thing is a god for any sort of ranked gameplay. It just shits on people in ranked. The problem in randoms though, there's a lot more stuff focus firing it. And I'd probably put it as somewhere around, honestly, B. People Schlieffen solo, I just smashed them because they struggle to push in the way they want in randoms. In divisions it's different and so forth. I think I put it as a strong B maybe. The thing just gets shit on so easily if people focus fire it. But it is, I do consider it better than all of these for random still. Well, not better, like better across the board. I think the S tier, I'm gonna put it as A tier. Schlieffen is A tier. It's in randoms, it's lower. In ranked, is fucking god tier. Absolute god tier. Is this random or ranked both? It's random or ranked solo. Those are the things I play the most, so those are the things I have the most opinion on. But like Schlieffen, have you ever tried to push in when the enemy team has just like something like a Conquer or a Thunder who isn't completely brain dead and pushes into you, but just starts kiting away? God forbid there's a CV around or there's a DD spotting you. Schlieffen isn't fun at all. You just explode. You just get farmed to shit. And you try to close the distance, they just cut away and farm you. It's sheesh. It's questionable. God forbid anyone crossfires you. This thing has no armor either. Shit, we just fought, didn't we just kill, like, what was this game? We just shot a Schlieffen who tried to push in. We double Citadel him. Like, it's, the armor on it is a tragedy. That's really what it is. The armor on it is a tragedy. Let's talk about the Schlieffen a bit, man. What makes Schlieffen is very much a battle cruiser. Where is it here? We're about to unlock it on this account. Schlieffen is very much a battle cruiser. It's quite small. Its concealment is very good for a battleship. What is it? 12 point shit. What is it? It's very, very good. Basically, you can get into secondary range at the same time. There, detectability by C. It sits here. I think it's 12.6, and your secondary go 12.5 or something. So, by the time you spot this thing in a 1 versus 1, this thing basically shits on you. because it's so hard to deal with. It's in any sort of 1 versus 1 small scale, this thing shits on you, and that's why it's S tier in ranked. It's incredibly difficult to deal with. So you see him, and his secondaries instantly open up, and the secondary DPM on the ship is completely hilarious, because you build this thing for full secondaries. So you take all of this effective DPM, and then you increase it even further. It's ridiculous. It runs at you full speed, and it doesn't even hit you because its secondaries are gonna melt you. The guns themselves are they're 420s. You got 8 of them. Dispersion is okay, but like this is not really the main armament. It sounds kind of tragic, but like Schlieffen guns, the pen is, if you have to play the ship at long ranges, the pen is pretty tragic. The damage output on the Schlieffen is literally bottom tier. Only the Slava has worse. And the HE is by far the worst. The only thing that has worse is Colombo, that literally doesn't have any HE. So main guns are very much not the main armor of this thing. This thing runs at you with secondaries ablazing. And then you think, okay, well maybe I can somehow break the line of sight, maybe I can somehow like go dark. But the thing is, he's also running Hydro, and it's 6 km Hydro, unlike, well, the same as GK 6 km Hydro, and it's 4 km torpedo spotting. And unlike the GK, this thing doesn't have the massive turning circle, and it's quite fast, so you can easily dodge, well not easily, but you can dodge the torpedoes, and you can run at them with the secondaries blazing. Basically, you don't have to stop the same way. The other advantage, it has a standard heal, only 3 of them. The other advantage is that it gets fast reloading heals, which means it's really hard to burn the Schlieffen to death as well. You damage cons, by the time it runs out, you start getting second fires, he damage cons again. Schlieffen running in is hard to spot, or stop. He does have a vulnerable citadel, like there's no turtleback like on the GK. He actually, shit, we lost it. He does have a vulnerable citadel, but here we go. You can see the citadel is here, and it's flat. It can be citadeled. Sometimes it arms the shells because they're spaced armor, but this thing can absolutely be a citadel. The problem is, if you close the distance and you actually try to effectively brawl this thing, then we have torpedoes, and we got shit tons of torpedoes. We got 8 torpedoes on both sides that hit for 16.5k a pop. If you end up brawling with a Schlieffen, he will basically almost always trade you 1 for 1. People have a pretty inflated view of the Schlieffen right now, mostly because the entire last patch, modules were unbreakable, which means you couldn't lose AA, you couldn't lose secondaries, you couldn't lose torpedoes. So people thought the Schlieffen was a lot better than it actually is, because they didn't realize that all the things that allow this ship to brawl were indestructible. This patch, it's been very, very different, with people losing, I mean, the torpedo tubes are literally sitting on the deck, and everything is exposed. And, well, as I said, have you ever tried to push into a Conqueror of Thunder in this thing in this current patch? What happens is, the Conqueror shoots you once, and you lose all your torpedo tubes and half your secondaries. Your AA is gone as well, and then the CB comes in. It's not a very fun experience. And that means you have to rely on your guns, which are, as we mentioned, pretty much dog shit tier. On the other hand, the firing angles are quite good. I think this turret is 360 degrees as well, this back turret here, so it's very good at pushing in and brawling. It's very good at it, it's very good at small scale, but it's I'd say weak A, strong B. In ranked, S tier. In a division, also S tier, because you can literally just smoke bot this thing, and you have the secondaries. Secondaries don't really suffer from the bloom penalty, so you just sit in a smoke and melt everything within range. So that's really, really hilarious, but for solo in randoms, Schlieffen can be very feast or famine. You have great games, and then you have tragic games. Because these days people are starting to figure out that, well, Schlieffen only has 76k health, which is not much at all. It has a limited amount of heals and a limited amount of damage cons. If you just focus fire that thing, it dies very, very quickly. So this thing sits roughly here. If it was ranked, it would be up here. That would be my Schlieffen. Preußen. We haven't played it. Honestly, based on everything I said, I'd throw it honestly as a strong B, potentially. I would just straight up throw it as potentially strong B. Preußen takes, we haven't played it yet, so this is merely speculation on what we have seen of it. And Preußen is a GK that kind of fixes a lot of the issues. Fixes basically most of the issues. The same way as Ohio is a juiced up Montana, Preußen is a juiced up GK. It might even go into A. It's too early to call, but it's probably going to sit somewhere here. Preußen has some absolutely insane stats on the ship. Well, we can start off by the fact that, well, they decided to give the ship a 24-second reload, which is the same reload as the Republic has. And the thing is given 457mm guns. So obviously this means that the AP DPM is actually very similar to GK's 304K. So you don't actually lose any DPM in getting these bigger caliber guns. You just get a shit ton of overmatch and a shit ton of penetration for basically no trade-off at all. They also gets, well, if we look at the firing angles, the GKs, we talked about GK's absolutely tragic firing angles here. We talked about this. Well, it actually has, because the turrets are more narrow, it actually gets significantly better firing angles. So that's two main issues that are fixed on it. The being forced to give a lot of broadside to use the guns, and having just shitty guns in general. It fixes both of those issues. And the AP penetration on these guns is much better than what we have on the GK sits here, and the Preußen sits up here. So it gets a significant improvement in penetration. So all of this alone, it makes me think it might be quite a bit better than the GK. Quite a bit better than the GK. Obviously, it remains to be seen, but it deals with a lot of the weaknesses. A lot of the weaknesses that it has. More overmatch, hooray, indeed. But right now, I'll tentatively put it as a B. It might even go up into A. It depends on how well it performs. But it's the GK hull is still pretty goddamn tanky. Having that tanky hull and suddenly actually having fast reloading overmatch, Republic levels of reload. Like, this is going to be Republic levels of reload on a ship that, unlike the Republic, doesn't suffer from 32mm armor and has a turtle back. So yeah, I mean, the dispersion might be an issue. The dispersion might be an issue because we are dealing with GK dispersion here, Preußen, and only 1.8 sigma. But I think if you build full reload mode on this thing, I mean, you're gonna be sitting at, like, with a bit of AR, you're gonna be sitting at sub 20-second reload, just like Republic, and you're just gonna be dumpstering things. And unlike the Republic, when you're forced to brawl, we're still gonna have the exact same secondaries going for us. So yeah, Preußen is very much gonna be a juiced up GK and gonna perform significantly better. If they give it Schlief, I did no way they give it Schlief and secondary accuracy. If they give it Schlief and secondary accuracy, oh my god, it's gonna be such a monster. I don't think they would ever do that. That sounds too ridiculous. But still, Preußen has big hopes for that one. Colombo. Oh my god, I hate Colombo. Jesus, I hate Colombo. Sheesh. Colombo has a turtleback that can be overmatched by battleships. So it's actually quite easy to citadel. It doesn't have a lot of health. Some people really like it. I hate the fact that it has no tools against destroyers. A destroyer can sail right at you, and your only option is to turn around and sail away, because you literally can't kill him, because you don't have any HE and you don't have any secondaries. The accuracy is dreadful. The accuracy really is, like, just dreadful. I mean, we can do dispersion here. This is dispersion on this thing. 20 kilometers. The only thing that has worse dispersion is, like, Kremlin. It just, no. The reload is also dreadful at 37 seconds. Sigma is 1.5, which means that the actual effective dispersion is much worse than what we see here. It's a shotgun. It's an absolute shotgun. You might be fooled into thinking, wow, this thing has a lot of secondary DPM. That's crazy, but the thing is, the vast majority of these secondaries are these absolutely dreadful Italian secondaries. What's dreadful about the Italian secondaries is that they are 90mm guns. And what this means is that the 90mm guns have 15mm of armor penetration. So even if you build IFHE, you can't kill DDs. You can't pen DDs with these secondaries. Like, even DDs have 90mm of armor. So you don't touch DDs with this. It's the vast majority, like 24 out of there's 8 in it. 24 of these secondaries, the fast reloading ones, they don't actually do anything. They kind of start fires hopefully with 5% chance. So why doesn't it get 1/4 pan? I don't know. But this means that the vast majority of your secondaries don't do anything to enemy DDs, and your main guns, because you don't have HE, don't do anything to DDs. So SAP is limited by the 10% rule, which means you can only deal overpen damage to a destroyer. You can't deal full damage, so you don't really do much. It has its moments to shine when there's a semi-angled ship sitting somewhat nose in, then you can get some really big sap volleys. Once the superstructure is saturated, the damage tends to go down quite heavily, but like everyone's experienced that one sap volley or gotten that one sap volley where someone chunked you for 20-25k, but when you actually play it, because of the accuracy, it's quite rare, and the damage output is in terms of utility, well, obviously the gun's at 381, so you don't match anything either. If you just go full nose in, well, the sap doesn't do anything either. I really don't like this shit. The AA, oh, we should mention it's Italian AA, which means 4.6 km range on the AA, which is basically like Nakimo drops you from outside of your AA range, because they don't have to go within this range, so it never actually shoots. Yeah. Oh, and the default range is junk. You're basically forced to rely on the special captain, Sansonetti. If you don't have Sansonetti, you have no business even playing this ship. You're entirely reliant on the spotter plane. 18.9, I think it might be the worst range. Does Incomparable maybe have worse? Doesn't maybe have worse range than that. Range? Yeah, Incomparable has worse. But that thing, of course, has other tools. I hate it. Honestly, I strongly dislike it. I've played pure games where I shoot nothing but sap, and I've been like, yeah, this ship just isn't for me. Honestly, I'm just gonna throw it into D. I don't like it. I just don't like it. It has its smoke, and it has its smoke gimmick, and if you get to push a flank against brain-dead people, you will do a lot of damage, but that kind of applies to every other battleship out there. He has no tools against DDs. No, none at all. None at all. It just doesn't do anything against DDs. Sorry, Marco, but sorry, I don't like it. I really don't like the combo. Conquer. Conquer for ranked is kind of griefing. Conquer for randoms, especially if you run the cruiser build, is kind of hilarious. Conquer Cruiser build is kind of hilarious. The Conquer Cruiser build is, well, I don't think I can build it here, can I? No, I don't have the leg mod. Basically, build this thing, so you get the rudder shift of a Thunder, and then you build, let's see, and then you build for Furious. I think we might even have a YouTube video on that build. You build the cruiser build, and it's absolutely hilarious, and it actually kind of smashes. Conk is a brain-dead HE spammer. It's a brain-dead HE spammer, but it's damn... I mean, I agree, Conquer is a brain-dead HE spammer, but my god, is it good at what it does? My god, is it good at what it does? It's brain-dead HE spammer? Absolutely, but my god is good at doing brain-dead HE spam. But it's when it comes to winning games, sheesh. It's annoying to deal with, but when it comes to solo carry power, oh shit, the Conqueror kind of struggles with that. And in ranked, it's kind of junk. It's fun, it's annoying, but so when it comes to pure carry power, it doesn't really do a whole lot. Solo carry power is kind of junk. I'll put it as a weak B. If it was only randoms, it would be a very strong B. But especially for something like ranked, Conquer is just eesh. You get a shit ton of damage in it, but most of the damage is like fires on battleships. Like this is the Conquer is the #1 ship for high damage losses. The double wither 300k but still lost the game because you farm battleships all game. Conquer is save a star ship very much. If you have to push in the Conquer, that's not a fun experience. That's really not a fun experience. None of the battleships has solo carry power. Oh, yes they do. Yes they do. Schlieffen in ranked, holy shit, this thing carries things. Ohio in ranked, holy shit, that thing carries. Let's not pretend that's what you said was real. Thunder? Okay, yeah, this one goes right up here. It's S plus for randoms, and probably just S for ranked. I don't feel like there's really much doubt about it. Thunder is when. Well, honestly, I should switch to my. I should switch to my EU account. Let me switch to my EU account so I can show some of these ships. Let's switch to my EU account. There it is. Thunder. Oh man, oh man. That's a shitball. Okay, it's starting up now. Thunder is I don't know what brain-fired wargaming had, but it was big. It was big. We can of course start. We can start with the hull itself. First of all, the detectability on the ship is hilarious. At 15.7, it's Conqueror's concealment. You get this down. What do you get it down to? 12 point? No, not 12. Is it 12 point something? I think wasn't it 13? Shit, let me actually open it. I want to double check. It was 12.3 you really got it down to. Was it so much? Because it was 2. Here it is, Thunder. Here we go. You get it down to 12.3. That is absolutely hilarious. So you get it down to the same concealment as the Conqueror, which is already like kind of sketch, like, okay. But then they had this brain fart. I can only call it a brain fart, like some sort of brain damage, where they decided that this Conqueror that has to slot this legendary mod that costs a lot, like you give up concealment in order to get this. They kind of skipped this part. Normally you have to give up concealment to slot this thing. Like you have to trade off your concealment in order to get this mod. And if you slot this mod, you get a pretty incredible 10.4 second rudder shift. Well, they built this legendary module. They built it into the Thunder. So the Thunder has 10.4 second rudder shift without having to give up the concealment. So maneuverability and concealment wise, you're basically a cruiser. And this 10.4 second rudder shift is of course completely absurd when you consider that many cruisers objectively have like worse rudder shifts. Like objectively have worse rudder shifts. Like Hindenburg sits at 12 seconds. Goliath is 12.5. Henry is 11.8. Like I'm going through cruisers here, and this piece of shit battleship sits here with 10.4 second rudder shift. Just to put it into perspective, it's brain dead, completely brain dead. So that's one thing that is already kind of baffling that they would even do this. The other thing they gave it, they decided that, well, we're not going to give it the super heal. It just gets a standard heal, but it'll get 60-second cooldown. And it's not actually a standard heal. Shit, I now remember, it wasn't even a standard heal. It had an improved healing, didn't it? There was something bullshit. It wasn't just the fact that it was 60 seconds. It healed more than the normal shit. I remember that. Like, Thunder is so stupid. So stupid. Shit, have I ever posted about it? Shit, where's that? It has the bullshit healing specific, doesn't it? There was something wonky about the heal. It wasn't enough. It was like same as Vanguard's heal. It had some bullshit gimmick to it that it doesn't even heal like a normal heal. It's got a faster cooldown and it heals more at the same time. I think it healed more Citadel damage. It was just heal. Let's see. Is there like something about it? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Here it is. Here we heal. Here we go. Thunder's shit. Here we go. Thunder's repair part queues up 60% of penetration damage. Normally it's 50%. Okay, can this stop loading? Oh, and it heals 33% of citadel damage. So even if you potato, normally in a battleship, if you get citadel, you can only heal 10% of the damage, but Thunder can heal 33% of the damage. And it also heals more than a normal heal would, and it also has 20-second lower cooldown. It's in every possible way designed to be as fucking forgiving as possible. This thing is ridiculous. And once again, we're only still getting started on this thing. And then they decided, well, you know what we're going to give this thing? We're going to give it improved dispersion. And what do you mean improved dispersion? That doesn't make any sense. It already has all these. It's got cruiser maneuverability, concealment, and it's got improved healing. What more could it possibly get? Well, of course they're going to give it this kind of dispersion. Look at this vertical dispersion. Huh? Look at this vertical dispersion. What is this? And 1.9 sigma as well. And then you think, Jesus, that is pretty insane. Surely the reload is going to be long to make up for it. It's 26 seconds. And of course, if you build for it, you're sitting at 22.9 second reload on guns that just dumpster things. And you're thinking like, Jesus, what are they smoking? Okay, maybe like the AP pen, maybe the AP pen will like suffer. Maybe they will understand to tune this thing down. No, of course they fucking don't. It has similar fucking AP pen to the Yamato. So you're like, what? Maybe the firing angles are poor. Maybe the firing angles are poor. Of course they're not. The firing angles are exceptional. The firing angles are absolutely exceptional on the thing. So you're thinking, okay, well, what? Maybe it's got really poor HE. They gave the HE 63% fire chance. 63% fire chance with an 8.2k alpha. It is drunk, broken, like, and it also gets quarter pen. You gotta remember, this thing also gets quarter pen. So instead of the normal, like you divide it by 6, they divide it by 4. So the armor pen of this HE is 114 millimeters, which means that you literally citadel stuff like Minotaurs and light cruisers with this HE. So basically everything about the Thunder is this drunk. In fact, if you look at fires per minute, Thunder is better at starting fires than Conquer. It starts more fires per minute than the Conquer does. Despite having concealment, maneuverability, incredible AP, fast reload, all of these gimmicks, and it still is a better fire starter than the Conquer. It is the ultimate drunk fantasy, and they give it defensive AA, because they figured, hey, despite having all this rudder shift and already these really strong AA values that many other battleships would give their left testicle for, like 630 in mid-range. You can't really see it behind there, but 630 in mid-range. Despite this, they also gave it defensive AA on top. The thing is, it's just an absurd drunk fantasy, really. It doesn't make any sense. The thing just doesn't make any sense. There is nothing remotely balanced about the Thunder. Nothing like even remotely balanced about Thunder. The thing is just dumb.
Oh, I like the Thunderer, folks. Thunder is one of my go-to battleships. I like it. Now you know why.
The thing is just straight up dumb. Here we go. Repair Citadel. Look at this. This ship doesn't exist. Look at this. Everyone else, 10% healing Citadel. Thunder. Why? Why did it need this on top of everything? No one knows, but they just decided to do it. And then in terms of like percentage healed, you have already impressive like healing here. The standard 14%, but no, 16.8. It has to heal more as well. Heal, like, why? And it has a shorter cooldown on the heal. Everything about the ship is a meme. It's dumb as bricks. It goes straight into S tier number 1, because the thing is hilariously overpowered. You can play Thunder AP only and do 300k. You can play Thunder HE only and do 300k. God forbid if you mix them up and use the best thing, and you just shit on people. It's dumb. Hella dumb. Does it have carry potential? My god, does it have carry potential? It outspots many of the cruisers. Incomparable. I kind of waited to make this list until I played the incomparable. Oh, shit, that's a hard one.
All done. Incomparable. Incomparable, son. Incomparable. Gosh. People that can't speak English. Holy moly. I digress.
Strong B, maybe? Strong B, maybe, would be incomparable. Incomparable's conceal is insane. And the guns are good. And it's really fast. But my god, if someone like, if you have to do any sort of maneuvering. If you have to do any sort of maneuvering, you just hate your life. Incomparables, well, we don't have it here, we can show it from here, the list. Incomparables rudder shift, where is it? Can we see it here? Well, we can look at the length first of all. Incomparables is almost as long as the GK in terms of size. But, shit, where can we do... Well, we can maybe just click it. Now, look at this. Turning radius. 1,160 meters. It turns like a complete brick. I've showed off the armor. You get citadeled hilariously easily. If a carrier drops you, trying to dodge incomparable is tragic. Trying to dodge incomparable is... Or trying to dodge any sort of torps in the incomparable is tragic. You have a really small shitty hydro, but I mean, all the hydro really does is show you what's going to kill you. It has no health pool either. It's very, very squishy. I think it's a fun ship, and I think it's actually quite balanced. I think it's okay. It does what the concealment is bullshit, but if it wasn't for the concealment, I think the ship would be pretty tragic. If it wasn't for the concealment, I think the ship would honestly be pretty tragic. It gets complete bullshit conceal, something like 10.6, I think. It outspots like shit like Des Moines, which is obviously dumb. On the flip side, the plane spotting is 9.9, so you get constantly plane spotted, trying to do anything at all. Carriers love farming it because of the huge size and length and clumsiness. DDs love torping it for the same reason. It's fun, and I posted some vids on it, and I've enjoyed it. I think it's a fun ship to play with, but it also has an overmatchable nose. It's... yeah. His guns can do some absurd shit. I mean, the guns are okay. The guns are okay. You're not gonna get any sort of amazing values out of these. The guns sit here. The pen is... at long range, the pen is A. Long range pen is GK levels, basically. Below Conqueror, the long range pen. It doesn't actually have that much pen at long range. Obviously, you want to get closer in the thing. It has a lot of air drag, so that slows down, like the drag coefficient. I think it might be the highest even in the game. Yeah, it's the highest in the game. It just shells slow down really quick. You get really, really good at close range pen, but at that point you kind of don't need as much pen as you have, but then it falls off really quickly at range. You get really chunky damage with these guns though, because they do 19.5. I think the APD PM is quite okay despite the lack of gun. No, it's still not that impressive. It's just that the guns are consistent. The accuracy is consistent, and the fact that you match makes it consistent. You chunk out good amounts of damage every game. But if you have to brawl someone, it's not that good. The torpedoes are really far in the back. So, I mean, I've been forced to brawl in that thing, and honestly, I've had people managing to ram me because I can't turn out in time because it's so clumsy and gets citadeled. It's... It's honestly a hard place for me. I think maybe Strong B would be my place for the incomparable. Strong B would maybe be my place for the incomparable. If you have a division teammate, it's obviously much stronger, because then you can play much more aggressive, because you got someone spotting, making sure there's no one near you, and then you can get really close into them. But when you're playing it solo, you can't really utilize the concealment the way you would want to, because you don't want to be stuck too close to the enemy. Also, I think Petro Citadel's incomparable at 16 kilometers or something. Like, Stalingrad Citadels is at max range. Every battleship in the game Citadels is at max range. It's just... the armor basically isn't there at all. And this combined with the health, maybe B, maybe somewhere here, roughly. Republic. I'll probably put it into A, honestly. I like the Republic. Probably put it as either really strong B or weak A. Maybe weak A, honestly. This thing has been carrying hard. I think I'm gonna put it up here. This thing has been dumpstering really hard for me. I played it a lot on Russia, and I've averaged something like 72% win rate in its solo, which for a battleship is really strong for me. Like, not many BBs can do that for me. The guns are just, you pump out so much damage in them. That's really it. 290k DPM, but the reload is fast and the pen is fantastic. You can sit it on most things on the map. It just makes for, like, look at this pen. It will fall off some, but even at 18 kilometers, these guns are no joke. This combined with the overmatch and the fast reload, the fact that the ship is very fast as well, and it's got a nice health pool to it, I like it. I like the Republic. I used to not like it, but then I played it so much, and then I actually started liking the Republic. Guns are coin flip. Guns are coin flip, but the Republic has, like, with AR kicking in, you got sub 20-second reload, so it doesn't matter if the guns are coin flip because you just throw out so many shells that eventually you start smashing. It has good AA. It's got a semi turtleback, which makes it hard to sit at all at range. What else can we say about Republic? I hate every other French battleship in the line, but Republic kicks ass. The AA is pretty damn good, actually. It's all mid-range and long range, no short range. 8 flak as well, 6 km range on it. The main gimmick is of course the speed. You got speed boost on top, just standard speed boost though. This is no Borgonia speed boost, just 8% speed boost. Its health is, the health torpedo belt is okay, hit points 92.4. It does eat a fair bit of damage though. If you're dealing with overmatching ships, it's quite frustrating because no matter where they hit, they will smack you. But you are fast enough to just disengage and come back and farm them again. The gun range is incredible. Gun range is absolutely incredible. This is running reload mod, 26 km gun range. You already have 21.1 second base reload on the thing, and yeah, it's just, you just run around shooting your guns 24/7 and you pump out a shit ton of damage. That's really what it does. It's also really hard to disengage from a Republic, because like when AR kicks in and you're sitting at 19-second reload, a cruiser pushes in. If you start alternating guns, I do that sometimes. I shoot back gun, front gun, back gun, front gun. You're shooting every 10 seconds. For a cruiser to try to make that gamer turn and get out of that is a pain in the ass, because you're always risking that one turret just dead striking you. It's just hard to deal with the Republic. Hard to deal with. A good Republic is really rough to deal with. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna put it as a weak A here. No leg mod. Oh yeah, the leg mod is a tragedy though. That I have to highlight that. The leg mod is a tragedy. No clue. I don't know why they didn't just do 450mm guns, because that would actually be something the Germans considered and something that would fit much better with the German thing, but I don't know. Remains to be seen. Anyway, this thing is junk, like horrendously junk. You have to understand that you already get 12% reload from this thing. This thing gives you 12% reload. So this thing gives you 18, which means what you're actually gaining is 6%. But in return, you're losing 24% of your range. So you're giving up a quarter of your range for 6% reload on a ship that can sit at basically any ship across the map. It's the worst trade ever. The thing is complete junk, and I hate it. It's one of the worst legendary modules in the game. Would never recommend. Borgonia. That's a strong A, probably. Borgonia is the OG big dick. Hello? Borgonia goes straight into A. Burger is For solo randoms and solo ranked, it's perhaps not the easiest battleship to play. But it has reload booster, which, well, I mean, it got 380mm guns, which is a weakness, because you can't overmatch. But in return, you got 12 guns pumping out HE. You got a reload booster, which means if you find opportunities to pump out damage, Burger pumps out ridiculous amounts of damage. And the biggest weakness, really, I find with the Burger, the only reason why I wouldn't put it in the S right now, is the sheer amount of overmatch that is coming into the game. Like, especially with Incomparable, I've been loving fighting Burgers because, well, the Burger is coated in 32mm plating with only 76 K health. So what happens is Incomparable smashes it for 20k of reload. And then we got Shikishimas, and then we got Yamatos, and God forbid if they're going to add any more things that overmatch the Burger. And then you got Thunders and Conquerors that ignore him, and Sept that ignores him. Like, Borgonia's armor plus health pool makes it very cruiser-esque. It plays more like a cruiser than a battleship. Borgonia was one of my favorite BBs when I had it. It's a fun ship, and for solo ranked and solo randoms, it can be very, very strong, but it's very, very positional reliant, and it hard scales with player ability as well. Once again, very much more like a cruiser than a battleship, but it is very good. It is a very good ship. Burger main better reload your 25mm nose back. It's hard to hit the fast Incomparable on a nose, especially with Burger shell velocity. But overall, Borgonia is a strong ship. It's a strong steel ship. It's actually one of the steel ships I like the most, mostly because it's somewhat unique. It's kind of like a souped up Shanbard. Souped up Shanbard. Just significantly better than the Shanbard. What else do I have? Petropavlovsk is tier in battleships as well. What are we missing? Is that all of them? Was that all the BBs? Was that all the battleships? I didn't miss anything? No, I don't think I missed anything. How many do we have here? 2, 7, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, that's all of them. That's all the battleships. Is this something I would...
So that's all the battleships, folks. What do you think of that ranking? I think it's pretty much spot on. I really can't see much of a deviation from that. I think he's outlined them quite well. Keep in mind, it's his personal preference as well, but my thinking is pretty much aligned with his. So let us know what you think. Throw it in chat, throw it in the comment sections after. We're going to call it a day. We're back tomorrow morning live, 10 a.m. We're going to do some battles tomorrow. So 10 a.m. New York time. See you back here live. And in the interim, you got to remember, Bob is your uncle. What, Bob's my uncle? Yes, Bob is your uncle. But you got to remember, Bob's everybody's uncle. So till tomorrow, stay safe. Talk to you guys soon, and be good. And yeah, love and peace to everyone. Your health's priceless. Take care of it. Ciao for now.